realistic.
I just corrected with my I want to continue roll. And I really did. Hit to the hip. I let my energy go over it. It worked pretty well. What I started seeing in the community was a lot of people getting injured were falling poorly. Posting out an arm behind them, you guys have probably seen this. Letting the fall stop in one point rather than spreading it out through a variation of a roll. And that's not the only reason for injuries. Definitely are overuse injuries. If you do techniques incorrectly, you can get injuries that way, but a lot of injuries I saw, definitely the more intense ones, were from poorly falling. On the other hand, I wasn't getting injured. A lot of people had strong and safe progressions. They were falling, but not because they studied it, but instead usually due to background. So air awareness from gymnastics, body control from breakdancing, specific practice falling from martial arts. It seems a very easy connection to make, but do be careful. Ukemi and parkour is very different from Ukemi and martial arts. For instance, at your local dojo, no one's going to take a slab of concrete, slap you in the shins, and then throw you into a 6-foot drop, which actually happened a couple days ago at the invitation. Where is that guy? Is he okay? I don't think he's here today. He's fine? Okay, good. Also, by the very nature of parkour, we're not in an empty space on special mats. So Ukemi parkour is a very different study because we're dealing with highly complex falling scenarios on concrete surrounded by various shapes and dimensions. So don't think my background, is gymnastics or martial arts, so I'm set. Ukemi and parkour is a new study which demands new techniques and variations. First of all, before you fall, you have all of your adaptations that you can make to avoid falling if something unplanned happens. A lot of you probably know about this, but you maybe don't have a name for it. At my school, we call it the landing continuum. So here's how a landing continuum works. You have a target. Maybe you want to hit this target with your feet, or it's a bar. You want to hit that target with your hands. Maybe you're vaulting towards it, or maybe you're just simply putting in a running jump. Something comforting to a lot of practitioners of our art is that you don't have to hit that target exactly right or be faced with injury or death, right? So actually, yeah, let's just do a basic example here. You've got a running jump, step up to another rooftop with a 10-story drop, all right? Day one, right? First day of parkour. Actually, I'm gonna get a couple volunteers here. We're gonna go through the mental processes of how we plan for this. How about Frosty? That's not volunteering, I just picked you. Anybody else wanna do this? Oliver. Yeah. Rooster. Yeah. That's his parkour name.
I was given it.
No soul. Alright, so let's make this realistic, alright? Let's let them get into our minds as we analyze this situation. But Frosty, Brian's gonna be your arms. So Brian's gonna Frosty will be the legs. Alright, Rooster. The three of us on this rooftop, let's go through let's think out loud here. Watch it there, buddy. Let's think out loud here and just go through the mental processes of how a tracer would go about a jump like this, okay? Alright guys, action. Okay. How do you do this? We're gonna die. No, we're gonna find it. It's not that hard, it's 10 stories.
You can do it.
Alright, can you get a leg
You
here?
already fell. You're in the gap right now. That's pretty far. That's a whole lot of way down. I've got a really cute girlfriend. I don't know if I need to do this. But boy, does that concrete look soft. That'll probably take my fall.
Alright guys, ladies and gentlemen,
do it for the fun.
first ever dual cat leap here in front of your eyes. Go for it, guys. more seriously though, here Frosty, I'll have you do this. Alright. So, Frosty's about to do this jump, okay? He's going for 2 feet on top.
Yeah.
But that may not happen. So something that I was saying before that's very comforting to us is that we have these techniques. If we undershoot this, it's okay. We can react with some techniques. If we overshoot it, we also have some techniques we can use to react to it. So all we have to do is think about putting in a good jump and just react. And the beauty of this is that these techniques seamlessly transition together so that we don't have to force an outcome into any gray situations. We can just react. So Frosty's gonna go for the 2 foot and we'll just see what happens. Go good, Blaine. So we landed kind of a high cat here. So if you don't make this, you crane it, right? Land a high cat. Maybe the trajectory is different, half cat. Then you cat. Then you catapult. Maybe you push back to where you were coming from. If you overshoot it, maybe you need to roll, maybe you need to safety off of it. So that's your first line of defense. So there's nothing to fear, right? What do you guys think? What are you guys scared of?
Would have been slippery half.
This isn't a roof drop. Like, this is a jump. There's sand here. Still, like, what's there to be afraid of? Tyson pointed out a good one, slipping. Something could break. There's so many things outside of our control, and so you're going to have to deal with falling. Everyone falls. Daniela Baca, David Bell, everyone who lied by not raising their hand at the starting, everyone falls. So thank you guys for the really weird. All right, so let's explore the physics really quick here. So falling is kind of like getting hit with a big object at the velocity of gravity. The wounding energy is proportional to mass times velocity squared divided by the time you contact the surface, also divided by the area of that surface. I'm just playing. Kitten's head fell into his arms immediately. I saw a few others just, I'm just playing, guys. All you need to know is that in order to decrease the wounding energy, you want to increase the time of contact. So a roll instead of a landing, or a dive roll instead of landing on your hands. And also the area, so spreading out the impact. That thing I did at the starting there was a break fall where I spread the impact out along my body. You want to do that rather than land on your tailbone, for instance. That's all you guys need to know. You want to give the energy an outlet. You don't want to stop it. So for instance, if I was falling into a wall, I don't want to just run into the wall. Instead, I want to maybe roll across it, or a railing if I was falling into this. Can someone actually push me from behind?
Yes.
Just make this really more realistic. Please don't give me a whiplash. I'm just trying to make it more realistic. Yeah. Instead of just taking this maybe in the ribs or the hip, I let my energy go over it. Another important dynamic is that you can't think while this happens. You guys have probably experienced this. It's not like you're falling and you're like, dive roll. No, nobody fall. Dive roll. No. None of that happens. Instead, it just happens. You have to react. That's why we have to train this stuff, is because there's no time to think. On the flip side of that, something very interesting that started happening for me is as I train this stuff, I've actually found that when a serious situation arises, everything slows down, like the Matrix. And I've found myself to actually be able to make decisions while things are happening because I have all these natural reactions that I can kind of choose from. You've experienced that? You said the same thing? Yeah. Jeremy's pretty good at falling, so. Another thing that all you parkour purists are gonna hate me for, please don't boo me off the stage, hear me out. I know who you are. Flips and spins are incredibly important. Yes, good, Tyson's nodding. If you can't identify where your body is relative to the ground, none of this stuff works. So it's incredibly important that you guys are training basic flips and spins. Actually, just a couple weeks ago, I had a student do a punch front. He landed on his tailbone and got whiplash. And I walked up and I was like, why do you do a break fall, idiot? I don't talk to my students that way. I walked up and I was like, are you okay? I checked him out and I was just curious, why didn't you open up into a break fall, you idiot? And he said that he thought he was gonna land on his feet. So if we don't know where we are or that something is wrong in the first place, you're not gonna be able to make those adjustments you need to. So flips and spins are incredibly important. Before we start training here in a second, I'd also like to give you guys some mental models. So that you can put these techniques you're about to learn into a grander scheme. First of all, I've started to categorize falls in various low, medium impact categories, because different falls, like a low impact fall, you can't use that same technique in a high impact fall. For instance, if I was just to trip over a curb and I just corrected with my hands like that, yeah, it's a good way to get back to my feet with very little impact. But imagine if I was a cat leap 10 feet off the ground and I peeled out and I fell backwards and I tried to do that. I'd probably break my wrist, dislocate my elbow, hurt my tailbone. It doesn't work the same. So you have to change these techniques as the impact and the drop increases. And then also I started to observe what I call falling continuums. So just kind of like landing continuums, where there's a seamless transition of techniques that you can react with rather than just forcing an outcome. I feel like that exists also with falling. So I'm gonna go over the forward falling continuum before we start trying some of this stuff. This is a very classic situation here where maybe you clip a foot or a knee on a Kong ball. I think I've seen this happen to almost everybody I know. You had a bad one on the fence. I remember seeing that a couple years ago. Levi just clipped himself in the comp a couple of days ago. He used the twinkle toes method to get his feet back under him. But this is actually a really good basic example. So I'm gonna ask you guys some questions, see if you can figure some of this stuff out as well. So, calm, hands slip, maybe knee hits. I'm going towards my head. What do I do? What's that? Yeah, your priority is to land on your feet. Really the way you should be thinking is, okay, first, where's the ground? Can I get my feet to the ground? If not, then there are other techniques. But let's say you can't land on your feet. Let's say your hips were popped up really high. You're going towards your head. What do you do? Dive. Yeah. Okay. So let's say I don't pop my hips up quite high enough. I'm kind of coming in at this angle, like this. If I were to try to dive roll, my head would go under, and I would probably suitcase with high impact. Then what am I gonna do? You're not allowed to talk. Let them be creative. Good job. This is called an assisted dive roll. You're not taking impact on your leg. Instead, your leg is simply dropping down to pop your hips up to keep them high throughout the dive roll. So it would look more like this. So if I would have tried to dive roll that, it might not have worked out, but I couldn't get both feet under me, so I just got one leg under me to guide me in. All right, let's say I hit my knees so hard that I clear my head, my hips are way too high. You know that feeling like when you can't dive roll, your hips are too high. If you tried, they would just slap down on your feet when you hit the ground. What do you do then? Your goal is, now you can't roll, you can't get back to your feet. You want to dissipate the impact along the side of your body. You have to land all at once. And it doesn't feel so good, but it's definitely better than the alternative. Let's say you pop your hips up high, but not high enough to actually get the rotation to land in a break fall. What do you guys think you do? What's that? Any ideas?
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that piece of it.
Use the screen so there's fine. If you can't get your feet under you, sometimes you can reach out, tap the ground, and try to direct into a sideways roll. Like turn yourself away.
Yeah, maybe if you didn't have a lot of forward momentum, definitely true. In this case, I call these block or assisted break falls. It's where you don't quite have enough rotation. You're just going to block off the ground to give you a little bit more height into the break fall. These things make you bounce. One more question. Let's say I just jack my knees, a lot of rotation. What do you do? Layout? So I know that sounds ridiculous, but I've seen it happen. One of the first things that kind of spawned these ideas in my mind, Jake Smith, back when we first started training, was going for a reverse vault over an 8-foot drop to concrete, and all of us were watching him. His hand missed the railing, so he just went like this into the space, and all of us just immediately like shit our pants. We're like, no. And just because that was a little too visual, was it? But he was upside down, we thought he was gone for good, and because he'd been studying flips and he was really into that, he just knew naturally to pull his leg up and tuck into a side flip, and he didn't just land on his feet, he like had the softest landing, and just our minds didn't even know how to react, and just like melted out of our ears. Because we didn't even know what happened, it was too early in our training. So I want you guys to think of it as a circle. So I'm falling at this trajectory with this type of drop, there's a falling continuum where I don't have to think in the air, I don't have to do anything except for react to the things I've been training. So everything's seamless. Alright guys, so next up I just want to verbally go through this. Your sideways falling continuum is very similar to your forward falling continuum. So for instance, if you're falling down and you can't do a sideways dive roll, you get a leg under you, you assist it. Then you dive roll sideways, which is a little rough, but you guys will start to mess with that, I'm sure. And then go over the head, block, break fall, feet. Another drill I use, because it's a common fall at our school, is cat leap peel out drill. So that's something you guys see often, right? This is like classic beginner mistake, like that. I've seen a lot of elbows dislocated, wrists broken. It's something you want to get out of students' natural reaction right away when they're walking your door. So something I do to simulate the real fall with some of our more advanced students is we actually put something slick up here to cause the fall without them being ready for it. You can work. You can work into this. Actually, Justin Sweeney, can you take off your shirt really quick? Demand. Sorry, man. There's too much demand. Yeah. Thank you. So I usually use like a puzzle mat or something, but what you're trying to do in this drill is to simulate a fall for a backwards continuum. So maybe you peel out hard and you have to break fall. Maybe you just slightly peel out, you land on your heels, you've got your back roll. Something you really want to try to do, especially because we deal with heights a lot, anytime you peel out, is you want to pull a spin while driving your knees forward and try to get your feet under you, which is a lot more complicated. So for some of you experienced people, we're going to set up a station over here. We'll think of something for you. What's your question, Frosty?
So if you're trying to twist out of it, would you still recommend trying to roll, like say I'm twisting it left, would I still want to try and roll on my left side?
Yeah, so if you, exactly. What I kind of avoided earlier, because it gets kind of difficult for me to explain, is that all these falling continuums are not just two-dimensional wheels, they're actually three-dimensional. So as your body spins, if you guys can visualize this as a sphere, as your body spins, you access different falling continuums. So you mix them together. You slip up here, you try to get to your feet, you end up landing here into side roll. Or maybe you get it, you spin too much, you come down on this other side. Exactly right. So here, for anyone just starting out with this, we're gonna throw down a mat. I want you guys to get into the cat position. Of course, practice your back roll first. If you guys aren't confident with those, don't do this drill. You're just gonna kind of get your feet high enough to cause you to peel out. So, cat position, you're gonna kind of walk your feet up until your feet kind of peel out your hands. And there I just kind of like did a little bit of a half roll. Do whatever feels natural, what we've just been practicing. Break fall, back roll, try to make it natural. Okay, we'll put some pads on. And then we'll throw the t-shirt on one of these big boxes for you experienced folk.
You ever did the two-hand break fall from that?
I feel like at this point in time, I don't like the shoulder blades contacting and the head being exposed. Also the slap in martial arts, it's supposed to take out some of the fall, but with concrete, I think it may be a bad habit. It's really just something I like to see as like your arm out in a break fall rather than tucked under. That's how I feel at this point in time, but again, it's a new science, so. really you don't want to be ready for it. If you are reacting before the fall, that's not a good drill. And again, this is kind of dangerous, so I know you guys are timid, but you want to be falling before you can actually react. Good job. Make sure that arm's not on the side. Two hands on the center. You feel alright about that? It's what you guys are doing for a hot ground. This landing continuum, the cat peel out, is kind of similar to maybe peeling out on a bar. It's just a little bit different. You got a little bit more forward momentum. With falling continuums backwards, like cat slips, I think this happened to Jeremy just the other day. He slipped on a bar over here, probably from 9 feet off the ground, and had to go into a break fall because he peeled out. Peel outs happen a lot on bars. There's one space in the backwards falling continuum I don't quite understand. That is, once you start to go over your head, there's no backwards dive roll, right? Well, that's the scorpion. But that's a really tricky situation. The only thing I've come up with so far, and I pose this to be an experiment for you guys, is once you start falling back towards your head, only good thing I can think of is trying to spin and get on the front of your body facing the ground at least. So you can, and so with peel outs, something that I do, something that happened to me a while back is when I started studying how to fall, I started watching cats, interestingly enough. I was watching, don't judge me, I was watching slow motion videos of cats falling. I swear this is for falling purposes. So it's interesting, cats when they're falling, they always get to their feet because they rotate around their spine to get into this position. So I started thinking about that and I started messing around on peeling out of bars with pads. And one day I was teaching a class and I went for a really big lache and it was more than I could hold on to. And just because I'd been thinking about the idea of twisting, I naturally, when I peeled out, twisted over my spine, landed on one foot into a run. And the students were like, what? And I was like, what? And we all just kind of like looked at each other for a second. I was like, yeah, okay. So there's something there. There's something to that. And once again, not only your basic flips, you guys need to know how to flip and spin, just so you know what it's like to have that set position or that falling position and pull spins in. It's really important in that case. So that's some more complex stuff. Feel free to talk to me about this afterwards. That's all that we can go over today. You guys are all leaders in your community, so I think it's very important that you guys take all this stuff with you and teach it to others, experiment. Parkour Visions has some falling in their curriculum, which I think is very important. But this is our job to expand this knowledge together. Thank you guys. Also guys, if you want to learn more or you want to talk to me about this, this is potentially a vast study. There's so much to it. I only got to show you a little bit of a peek into the program I've been teaching in Boulder. I'd love to hear your ideas because this is a young science and I'd like you all to work with me. So there's an email sign-up list over here. If you guys are interested in learning more, I've got my cards up if you want to grab them. I want to say thank you to Parkour Visions for putting this on. I'm so excited for you guys. It's an amazing space. Give it to Parkour Visions for... Thanks to all of you for your interest in progressing our collective knowledge at this summit. Thank you guys. Thank you. Ways you can do that. Maybe I fall. Oh my god, this is not sturdy. Listen.